What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. So today we're gonna be getting to know a former lifer. We're gonna hear some of his story, and he's gonna tell us about what he's done, what he's been through, what he's doing now, his YouTube channel, everything. So first of all, let's go ahead and have you introduce yourself.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Jim. I'm an ex-lifer. I did 24 years in the California Department of Corrections. On social media and on YouTube, I go by Changed Man for Life. And I'm honored to finally make this happen. Appreciate you, Dubs.
Yeah, no problem. We were supposed to do this a long time ago, and I lagged, so I appreciate him showing up. So, how old were you? So, you caught a body, right? You caught a murder
Yeah.
case.
Yeah,
Okay.
I ended up actually taking a plea bargain for
Mhm.
a first-degree murder for a sentence
Mm,
of 30 years to life, 25 to life for the murder one, and a 5-year gun enhancement. They were actually trying to hit me and my crimes with the death penalty
mhm,
because it was a murder that took place during a robbery. And it
mhm,
was my first time really being involved in anything serious. I've been in and out of the county jail numerous times for little things, but it was my first time, facing something serious. So I really didn't know what was cracking, what the legal
mhm,
system was about, and all that. And I had a public defender. My family couldn't afford a paid lawyer, so I had a public
mhm.
defender. And we all know they ain't really trying to help you. You know what I mean? So
Not at all.
him along with one of my crimies convinced me to take the deal. So that's the deal that I took.
Okay. Um. Wow. Why won't my bad. I'm trying to get you. I want to. I'm trying to put the camera more on you. But anyways, yeah, that's actually, at least for me, as far as my knowledge, it's very rare for somebody to take a deal for first degree. So it must have been a pretty
Right.
bad case, or your attorney just didn't want to do work. It's one of the two.
Yeah. Right. And when I got back to the county that night, after court, and the fellas, what happened? What happened? And again, I'm 21 years old. I ain't really been into a
Hmm.
lot of stuff, so I'm not really experienced. So I told
Hmm.
everybody what I did. They were tripping out, and
Yeah.
a couple of the older homies pulled me to the side, and they were like, "Look, you messed up.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the death penalty. You're too young.
Hmm.
Your record is not that bad. At the most, you get life without. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
But probably you'll get the sentence that you took anyway. But keep pushing for a better deal." And they
Hmm.
advised me to go back to court, withdraw my guilty plea, and try to start fresh. And that was a whole process that my family actually was able to scrape together the money to get a lawyer to try to do that. And that whole court proceeding was crazy. That's a whole story in itself. Matter of fact, now that you're
Okay.
making me think of it, I might do a video on it. But
Yeah.
the judge denied my motion to withdraw my guilty plea and go forward. Now, mind you,
Wow.
I trip on this. I got arrested in June. I get sentenced in July. I hit reception in August on a
Wow.
murder on a murder one case.
So you were in the county just that? How long were you in the county?
Like two
Three
months,
months?
3 months time. By the time I caught the chain, like 3 months.
What year? What year did you catch your
Nin-
case?
1991.
And June, what did you get? When did you get arrested?
I got arrested June 7th. June
Mine was
7th, 1991.
my case happened June 27th. I got busted June 29th,
That's crazy. Yeah,
1993.
I got arrested a week after it took place. And yeah,
Okay.
they rushed us through. It was a total of 5 crimes. Four of us ended up with life, and only one is still not home.
Mm.
He
So
actually he ended up catching a life without in prison.
that sucks.
Yeah, it's
So
rough.
for the people that don't understand, so I know, but I'm gonna have you explain it. So when you entered the California Department of Corrections, how many people were going home on a life sentence?
Zero, absolutely nobody.
And people don't know that are from outside of our state that in California back then, when you got a life sentence, that was a death penalty.
It was
It,
over.
it, it was just slow death.
Right,
There was no difference. Because you could get sent to death row and do 30 years there without dying,
right,
or get killed on the yard. Same thing. So a lot of people didn't know back then it was a slow death penalty. Also, what type of programming and like rehabilitation do you remember back then?
well, back then, nothing. You maybe you were able to go to school,
Hmm.
maybe get your GED, maybe get a trade. But even that was rare, you know what I mean? Depending on where you were at and what kind of programming that yard or that institution
Yeah.
was doing. Because 9 times out of 10, if you were somewhere where it's popping, you're always on lockdown, so you're not going to school or Voc anyway.
When I got to, so I started in New Folsom, and in New Folsom, the only job they had, I think they had milling cabinet and some kind of word processing thing, and that was like the lick right there. Like those dudes were getting
Right,
like $80 a month, and that was big
right, right,
time back
right,
then.
right,
Especially because back then, if you the A2B draw was $70, and the Cadillac draw, the
right.
most expensive, was 140.
140, yeah,
So yeah, so if you're making $80, a month, that was you were balling for a pay
yeah,
number. I mean, you were
yeah,
doing it. Okay,
yeah. That's top notch.
so what was your prison experience like when you first came in?
So when I first went in, um, I still had in my mind the possibility of appeal because
Wow.
my family was still pushing, like you know how our families are, especially
Hmm.
moms. My mom's was
Hmm.
the one that was in my life. I didn't grow up with my pops,
Hmm.
so mom's was the one that was like trying. It was hard for her to accept. She wasn't going to accept that her son
Hmm.
was doing a life sentence and was never going to come home. And in the early years, my mind was trying to not let me accept it. You know what I mean? I still had
Hmm.
this hope of we're going to win this appeal and I'm going to be able to withdraw my guilty plea and we're going to start fresh and I'm going to end up getting a voluntary manslaughter. Or those were just the things that were in my
Hmm.
young, uneducated mind. And again, I haven't really done at this point. I hadn't really done time before. Never been to the state.
Hmm.
Never been to YA camp, juvenile hall, none of that. I didn't start getting busted for stuff till I was 18 and started going to the county. And that
Hmm.
was always just small stints. 6 months was like the longest I ever did straight in the county. And then bam, I get hit with a life sentence.
Hmm.
So initially my mindset was I just gotta, hold on till this appeal goes through and we get back and we see what happens. And that
Hmm.
mindset lasted for like 5 years, bro.
Wow.
For like the first 5 years, I was just like, because I would get letters back from
Hmm.
places that my mom was dealing with and asking for my paperwork and this and that. And so in my mind, we're going through the process. You know what's going to happen. And oh, looks like I'm froze up on the screen.
Yeah, it's okay. Hopefully the audio is still working.
And so I just kept on going with that. And it was after like 5 years, bro, that I finally was like, nah, you know what? Ain't nothing happening. And then when I got that letter back saying that everything had been denied, then it set in and it was like, okay, this is it. I'm never going home.
Mm. Okay, so for me, the reason why I'm like, wow, it's not letting you come back, huh? One second. Okay, my bad. So Jim was telling us about his first 5 years in the California Department of Corrections. He had that hope for an appeal, and like so for me, the reason why I'm like, wow, is I can't imagine. Like I had been through, all the juvenile stuff, juvenile hall, placement, camp, YA. So when I got arrested, I had no hope.
Right.
And so you're the first guy I ever met, man, that was like, hey man, I take that back. I had a friend of mine from 18th Street, and he had hope, and it kind of got him in a wreck. His having hope,
Right.
it got him in a wreck. Dang,
Froze up
you're
again.
frozen again.
Uh,
Well, let's just, I mean, we can try to keep going with it. And really, I think our faces aren't important, it's our voices. And
right.
so your story, I think, is impactful, and it's basically like having a still of you. So,
Right.
um, so how did it hit you when you knew your appeal was over?
Um, this is gonna sound weird probably to the people, but it really didn't affect me. It was just like,
Mm.
okay, let's go. You know what I mean? This
Mhm.
is what it is now, and let's make it happen. You know what I mean? We're gonna
Mhm.
make the best out of it. I had actually got down to level 3 by this time.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
went to I went to Ironwood when it first opened in
Mhm.
'94. I ended up, catching a shoe. Like I said, it was now in my mind. It's like, okay, let's roll. It's a life sentence, never going home. This is what it is. And because you know how new joints are when you first open them
Mhm.
up, even level 3s.
Mhm.
So there was things popping, and I ended up catching a shoe. Went to Cork and shoe, and it was just on from there.
So I have a question. Um, when you hit the joint initially, did you have like, were there any were there good older homies that were like, "Hey, Holmes, focus on your appeal. Just stick. Don't get your nose in nothing. You'll be, just fight that." Or like, how did that work for you? Because I know when I came in, and I tell this story, like I've been around older dudes, legends and stuff that would tell dudes like, "Hey, why you don't want to go home? Like you don't care about your appeal? They're like." You lose your appeal, there's a bunch of stuff you can get into. Like, what did
Right,
that
right,
happen
right,
for
right.
you, or like, how did that happen?
To a certain degree, yeah. I
Hmm.
really was, because it was my first time to prison, and because I'm from a small town and from a
Hmm.
small neighborhood,
Hmm.
and like didn't have homies on the homeboys from the neighborhood on the yard and all that. I kind of
Hmm.
like kept to myself as much as you
Hmm.
can,
Hmm.
being a homie.
Hmm.
You can't really do too much solo bolo, because then it starts
Hmm.
to look weird. People start questioning you and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But I was really, in my mind focused on that appeal. And one of my crimies was with me. He had actually been to the joint before. That's the one that's still busted.
Hmm.
He
Okay.
had been to the joint before, so he was the one that kind of like laced me on game, and he was telling me that, like, look, until you know for sure what's going to happen with this appeal, just keep doing your thing. You know what I mean? There may be
Hmm.
a time where you were in a position where you're going to have to step outside of that and do what we got to do, but as long as you can, focus on that and push with it, and that's what I did.
Okay. So once you went to the shoe the first time, how was it for you? Because for a lot of us, once we go to the shoe, um, I mean, I used to politic, so for me, I was with the whole the main line is a gift. It's temporary. Get out there, plant seeds, and go back to the shoe. How was it for you? You went to the shoe the first time you got out, and then like, so how was it for you? Did you do the whole revolving door with the shoe, or because I know at some point you made a change in your life, and we'll
Right.
get to that. Hmm.
Right. So I caught my first shoe in 1994. Like I said, on level three,
Hmm.
I opened up Ironwood, and what was supposed to happen was we were supposed to have a riot. The Raza and the blacks were supposed to get into it. There had been a couple of
Hmm.
little small skirmishes
Hmm.
that had led the homie that had the yard to make the decision that we were going to take flight as a race, right?
Hmm.
So it's crazy what they went at that time when, like I said, it had first opened Ironwood. The
Hmm.
amount of lifers that were there was not a lot, so we were
Hmm.
all in one building and in one tier.
Oh.
The top tier, I want if I, it was a long time ago, so I don't remember exactly. I want to say it was A1 or A2,
Hmm.
and all the
Okay.
lifers were on the top tier, and we didn't have to have no celly if we didn't want, because there was not
Wow.
enough of us yet.
They were
You know what I
scared of you
mean?
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Hmm.
level three. It's brand new. They don't know the administration doesn't know what's going to happen or
Hmm.
whatever. So I had a celly. A homie from Ontario was my celly, and so when homeboy made the call that we're going to do what we're going to do,
Hmm.
they asked all the lifers to be the first wave. We want all the lifers to kick it off. So
Hmm.
all of us got strapped up. For one reason or another, they kept putting it off. Oh, we're going to wait till first draw. Okay. First
Mm.
draw comes. Oh, we're gonna wait till second draw. Oh, we're gonna wait till third draw. By now, word got out. The cops heard about it. They come and do a mass search. They find two of them things in my mattress, and
Mhm.
and there I go to my to
Mhm.
my first shoe turn. So I hit Corcoran. Now I got to Corcoran in, I want to say it was around August of '94, somewhere
Mhm.
in the
Mhm.
summer of '94. I
Mhm.
caught the tail end of the scandal. The
Mhm.
feds had
Mhm.
already started investigating,
Okay.
but they hadn't totally shut it down yet. So I caught the
Mhm.
tail end. So I caught the fool getting off the bus treatment with all the hoodas waiting right there with their
Mhm.
mask on, with their
The
name tags
sharks.
covered, or the sharks. The
Yeah.
sharks are right there waiting for us getting off the bus. They're called. They have a list of everybody that's on the bus, and they call you by name. You give them your last two, and
Mhm.
you step off the bus.
Mhm.
Anybody that had assault on staff was taking
Mhm.
one direction, and the rest of us were taking the other direction.
Mhm.
I want to say, I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure the dudes from Calipat were on that bus with us, because there was a bunch of African American dudes that they took in one direction, and I think that was the East Coast dudes that came from Calipat.
Yes. Yeah. I
Um,
know it was around that time they went there. Yeah.
yeah, so it was all bad for them. We still got a little
Mhm.
issue too, but not nearly what they went through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Shout
I
out to
get
East
we
Coast.
get that.
They
Yeah, they did their thing, and went through some stuff for it.
Mhm.
But so I get there, get off the bus, I get taken to my building, thrown in a cell with a homie, and it was crazy. You know, in '94, the little bit of stuff that was still going on there in Corcoran was a trip. I wasn't. I say this because you mentioned it. You say you were politicking. I wasn't
Mhm.
politicking. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
I people, always ask, "Oh, are you a Sureño?" No, I was a South Sider, and
Mhm.
that's just what it was. You know what I mean? I didn't
Mhm.
grow up in the system. My neighborhood was not big. I really didn't understand all that kind of stuff. I'd never been to the joint before, so
Mhm.
I wasn't really, looking to become nothing or trying to put
Mhm.
myself out there like that. But I knew there was rules to follow and a core conduct that we live by. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I was all the way with that. You know what I mean? So yeah, we were right there. Did what we did at that time. The shoe, there was no cages.
Mhm.
It was Southerners and whites. That was our
Mhm.
our our yard was Southerners and whites.
Mhm.
And for anybody that's never seen what the inside of corker shoe looks like, this. There's 5 tiers on the top, and then a shower. And then, I mean, excuse me, 5 cells on the top tier, and then a shower, or
Mhm.
four or five cells, a shower, 4 or 5 cells, and on the bottom, same thing.
Mhm.
Well, and I talked about this in a video before, each of those 4 or 5 cells, that's your yard group, whoever's in there. It could be all whites and one cell of homies, that's your yard. It
Mhm.
could be all
Mhm.
homies and one cell of Northern Raza, that's your yard. It could be all blacks and one cell of whites, whoever, that was your yard. So on
Mm.
my yard group, it was like 2 cells of homies from down south, a cell of white boys, and a couple cells of morenos, and that was our yard.
Mm. Mhm.
And when I landed there, and where I landed at, I was in 482 left.
I was
There
in
was
482, right?
no at the time there was no standing orders like get off. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Okay.
It was, if something happened, of course, handle your business. But other
Mhm.
than that, go to yard, work out, program, take it back in. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
we were doing that for a while, and then little stuff popped off. So it ended up just becoming just the homies and the whites that were going to that yard. But during that time, the Celian that I had from Casablanca, I don't know if you noticed last night in the live that you and Gunner did. There was somebody hitting me up about that. He
Mm-mm.
was a homeboy of the Celi I had,
Okay.
and he knew the story because his homeboy had told him the story how he had
Mm.
got set up to have to go out and get off with some dudes from a whole nother yard group. They were
Mm.
actually they were actually some they were Arabs. They were some Arabic dudes, but they programmed with a raza from up north.
Mm. Okay.
And they used to give the Hudas problems. They'd always be kicking their
Oh yeah.
door, and you know what I mean. So one day
Mhm.
the Hudas got fed up, and it was our yard group. It wasn't even their yard group, but they went by themselves. Like, hey, you guys want to go to yards around your life? They, have similar rules to us. They ain't gonna refuse yard.
Mhm.
So they
Mhm.
turned their light on, and right away the homies got in our van. They're like, hey, you see who's going to yard? We're like, yeah, we got it. Don't even trip.
Mhm.
So we went to yard, did what we had to do, and ended up getting rewarded for it. You know what I mean? Later that day,
Mhm.
the Huda brought some. We had the karate shoes. We went out to
Yes.
yard with karate shoes on. Later
Yes.
that day, the Huda that went and had them turn their light on, he came and gave us a brown lunch bag full of coffee packets and a
Mhm.
pair of chucks for each of us, a pair of the state chucks for me and for Marcelli. And
Yeah.
kind of hit their way of rewarding us for
Yeah.
going out there handling our business.
Yeah. That's the games that they played, and a lot of people in a lot of other states don't understand that. That's why, like in Pelican Bay, they came to an understanding because the cops played people against each other, and they would do that
Right.
even because they knew who they wanted to shoot, right?
Yes.
So it was
Right.
like, I can't shoot this dude unless I let him out with somebody, and that was the games that were going on in Corcoran and the Bay. But the Bay, because it's different, they didn't have like the yard groups. You were
Right.
getting
Right.
let
Right.
out on a tier, and you know
Right.
how close that is up there, man. It was ugly. But okay, so wow, we're already 19 minutes in. So at what point did you decide that what, because you made a change, and I'll let you talk about the change.
Sure. So I had actually from after that shoot term, ended up going out to GP right there in Corcoran, and then
Hmm.
from there, that's when they started the that 180 thing, where if you were a fresh shoe kick out, if you had been in the shoe within the last
Hmm.
3 years, you had to go to a 180. So they shot me to High Desert. High
Mm.
Desert, brand new, opened up. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And we get up there, and at the time they were doing hardship transfers still. And
Hmm.
my mom, because we're from way down here, my mom
Hmm.
has a heart condition. So her doctor wrote her a letter that she couldn't travel far. So they were
Mhm.
like, okay, we're going to help you out. And they sent me to Salinas Valley, which is not a whole lot closer, but so I was only in high desert for about 6 to 8 months
Okay.
before I got transferred out. I was there during the winter, crazy snow. It was
Mhm.
wild, things popping. High desert was crazy. I was
Yeah.
telling Gunnar last night in the chat. That's one of the top three most violent prisons that I have
Absolutely.
experienced. People are always asking, "Oh, what's the craziest prison?" I told Gunn last night. For me, it was Salinas, High Desert, and New Folsom. Those were the
Mhm.
three most violent prisons I went to. But so I went to
Mhm.
High Desert, ended up getting transferred down to Salinas Valley, caught another shoe there, picked up a sticking there, ended up
Mhm.
catching another shoe. When I got out from that shoe is when I ended up going to New Folsom. And from New Folsom, we were on lockdown so much, I was able to drop to a 270. So
Mhm.
they transferred me to Corcoran, from there to level 3. Go ahead.
Was that when the Southerners smashed the cops in the chow hall? Was it
No,
that
that was
time?
that was after.
Okay.
So after that happened, and then we went on lockdown with the white boys.
Mhm.
It was during that lockdown that I ended up getting put up for a 270.
Okay, I was on C facility when that happened.
Yeah, I was
When
on B.
I got there right after I think it was the second chow hall incident.
Right. Yeah, and
Mhm.
that's when they had us locked down for like about 6, 8 months, and then we
Mhm.
came off of that, and then it was only a couple of weeks, maybe a month tops, and the thing with the white boys happened.
Mhm.
And that was a long lockdown. That was like
Mhm.
over a year, I want to say. That got so funky that they ended up moving the Raza to one side of the institution and
Mhm.
the white boys to the other side because people were even popping out of their showers and running up in
Mhm.
people's cells. And that was
Mhm.
for people that don't know about California prison violence, it gets ugly. And when the homies are involved, it's nothing nice.
Mhm.
But so I ended up getting put up for a 270, transferred from there to Corcoran. From Corcoran, my points dropped to level 3. I go to Ironwood. I was in Ironwood for 5 years. My points dropped to a level 2. They sent me to Chuckawalla,
Right next door.
right next door. So now I'm in Chuckawalla. This is 2010.
Mhm.
2010, like, and I actually could have gone the year before, but I didn't want to go. At this time, I had no hope of going home. I'm
Mhm.
still introducing myself by a nickname, by a neighborhood. I'm still programming full fledged with the homies.
Mhm.
I had a good job. I was the education clerk in Ironwood. I was working in the college program, and my points were about to drop to level 2 points.
Mhm.
So I asked around. I was like, "Hey, how can I catch an easy ride up and get my points up? I don't want to leave." So
Mhm.
somebody directed me to a certain CO, and we approached him and hit him up, and he was like, "Yeah, I got you."
Mhm.
Rolled me a little out of bounds 115.
Mhm.
So when I went for the 115 hearing, I jacked my points up 6, and I was cool for another year.
Yep.
Well, during that year that I was there again, waiting for my points to come down, it's crazy that a friend of mine from back in the days, she had been doing time and she had got out. And at this time, cell phones were making their way, so I used the phone. When the homie shoots the phone, and I'm talking to my friend, and she tells me, "Look, go check the level 2 out." She goes, "If you don't like it, you know how to get back." She
Mhm.
goes, "But," she goes, "things are about to start changing." And it's a trip. I don't know how she knew this. She was like, "Things are about to start changing, and lifers are going to start getting action. And this is going to be a test for you. Being in a
Mm.
level 2 in a dorm is
Mhm.
the closest you'll ever get to the streets as a lifer, as
Yeah.
far as having to deal with different people, different
Mhm.
attitudes, different characters, people that are disrespectful, people that are not doing the same kind of time you're doing.
Mhm.
And if you can prove to them that you can handle that, you'll get action someday." So I was like, "You know what? Okay, cool. I am going to go check it out." And
Mhm.
you're right. I know how to get back if I don't like it.
Mhm.
So boom, I let my points go down, go to committee, get put up for level 2. They endorsed me right there at Chuckawalla. I go. Bro, the first time I walked into a dorm, my mouth dropped, my jaw dropped. I was just like, "This is crazy." 'Cause I've been in a set at that point, I had been down for what, 19 years? For about
Mm.
19 years,
Mhm. All
cell
cell living.
living, all
Yeah.
cell living, shoe terms, all that, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
here now I walk into an open dorm. There's 200 dudes running around buck
Mm.
wild. It's loud. It's cubicles. There's no
Mhm.
cells. There's no bars. It was just buck wild. You know what I mean? So I was
Mhm.
tripping, and at that time it was triple bunks. There
Mm.
was three to a bunk, and the middle bunk literally had like not even a whole foot of room above his head before the next bunk. Luckily, I didn't
Wow.
get put on a middle bunk. I ended up on a top bunk. And then not too long after that, they changed it to where it was only two people in the bunks, and they put the
Mhm.
lifers on the top tier, and they made it really nice. But at that, when I hit the level 2, I ran into a handful of dudes that I'd been with in New Folsom, in Salinas Valley, High Desert,
Mhm.
and these dudes were totally different.
Mhm.
The way they talked was different. The way they walked was different. What their mindsets were was different. I remembered them as straight gangsters, as killers.
Mhm.
That's when I
Mhm.
met them, and when I was doing time with them, that's how they were. I
Mhm.
get here, and these dudes are doing self-help programs, teaching self-help programs, going to church, smiling, enjoying
Mhm.
their day, and I was like, "What the heck is this?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And right around that time, now it's 2011, laws are changing, and I see a lifer walk out the gate for the first
Mm.
time ever. Now, let me
Mhm.
back up a little bit, because in a few months prior to this, I had started getting enrolled in classes. Not so
Mhm.
much because I had hope of going home, but just to occupy my time. I ain't trying to be sitting in the dorm all day. I ain't trying to be in the day room watching what's on the schedule to watch. Because it's not like when you're in a cell and you have your own TV and you could watch what you want. There
Mhm.
was a schedule. All the races voted on what we're going to watch at this time, and blah blah blah. There's a schedule.
Mhm.
So I started going to little self-help classes, and I'm starting to learn things now. And I'm
Mhm.
starting to go to church. Someone had invited me to church. I hadn't made my conversion yet, but I'm just
Mhm.
going, to check it
Mhm.
out, going to church or whatever. And one of the Christian brothers was the first lifer that I seen walk out the gate. And I
Mm.
was up early in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning,
Mhm.
looking out the window, and I watched him walk out. And
Yeah.
at that moment is when I was like, I got hope. It's possible. That can be me
Mhm.
someday if I start doing what I need to do.
Mhm.
So from there, that's when I made a decision that I needed change in my life.
Mhm.
I wasn't, and I say this without no judgment towards anybody that went this route,
Mhm.
but for me,
Mhm.
I didn't see, okay, that I need to go S and Y or nothing like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
I don't hold nothing against people that made that decision for themselves. That's what they
Mhm.
felt as a man, they needed to do to make their life better. Hey,
Mhm.
more power to you. I
Mhm.
didn't feel that I needed to go that route,
Mhm.
but I knew I needed change if I wanted to have that hope of going home, because at any
Absolutely.
moment anything can happen, and my chance would be gone. Plus, even besides that, though, it's not even so much just the going home part, because that
Mhm.
still wasn't like that hadn't totally taken over my mind yet. There was just that
Absolutely.
seed. There was that seed, but I know because I've seen over the years that things can go wrong sometimes, so you never know. But I just
Mhm.
knew that at this point in my life, at this time, I was already like 40 years old, 41 years old. I just needed to change. I wanted to show. Now I had grandkids being born,
You wanted to
and
be a better man.
I wanted to be a better man.
Absolutely. I get it. I know.
So that's when I made the conversion to Christianity. That's when I
Mhm.
decided to give my life to the Lord. I made that move. It's crazy. I did a video on this too about how when the homies realized that that's what I was doing and approached me.
Mhm.
Um, I had actually been in the middle of a prayer circle in the middle of the building. We used to go to prayer. We call it intercessory prayer every
Mhm.
Tuesday.
Mhm.
And the yard was closed that day, so the chapel didn't open. So we had it in our building.
Mhm.
And it was men of every race in a circle holding hands praying.
Mhm. Mhm.
When we finish and we start clapping and do what we normally do, I look around, I notice the whole dorm is looking. That's when it like snapped to me, like everybody just seen me standing
Mhm.
here holding hands with a black dude, and the other side I got an Asian dude holding my other hand, and there's white dudes in this circle and all
Mhm.
kinds of different, right? And
Mhm.
it hits me like everybody just saw me, right? So I push back to my little cubicle. Sure
Mhm.
enough, here comes the homie that got to say so, like three, four dudes with him, mobbing straight towards me. In my mind, I'm like, okay, something's about to happen, one way or the
Mhm.
other, either good or bad, but something's about to happen.
Mhm.
So homeboy pushes up on me and he's like, "Hey, let me talk to you for a minute." I'm like, "What's up?" He said, "So are you a Christian now or what?" And he's looking me dead in the face, bro. And we're like just a few inches apart from each other.
Mhm.
And in my mind, I was like, now I have to make a life-changing decision. So
Mhm.
I looked at him and I was like, "Yeah, bro, I'm a Christian now." And there was just like this little pause where I'm like kind of clenching, waiting for it. And homeboy just hugged me. And he was
Mhm.
like, "All right, bro." He's like, we give you our blessing, but you know what comes with that. You know the rules.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know if you're seen doing anything outside of what a Christian should be
Mhm.
doing, you know what you got coming.
Yep.
And I was like, absolutely, I know what's up. And all the little dudes that came with him, all hugged me, and that was it. From there, I started introducing myself as Jim.
Mm.
I no longer went by my nickname from the neighborhood. No longer
Mhm.
introduced myself from the neighborhood. Whenever somebody new pulled up that I knew from back in the level 4 days,
Mhm.
first thing I would do was go and pull them to the side, like, "Hey, bro, let me holler at you real quick. Hey, what's
Mhm.
up?" And I would let them know, "Look, bro, the person you knew as so and so, that's not me no more. I don't go by
Mhm.
that. My name is
Mhm.
Jim. I'm walking with the Lord now. I ain't with none of the other stuff. And the reason why I'm telling you is because I'm giving you the option that if you still want to be my friend,
Mhm.
cool. If not, if you don't want to associate with me because of that, I understand, and I'm cool with that too."
Mhm. Mhm.
And that happened maybe a total of 10 times. Not
Mhm.
one of those 10 had anything bad to say.
No.
All of
And
them hugged me and embraced me and wished me well. And like you said, I've heard in some of your videos. You know what I mean? Go ahead. I know you were going to say something about it.
yeah,
Go ahead.
no, and I've had somebody approach me when I was in a position of authority, and he wanted to be Christian. And I told him the same thing. You need to do that then, because if you're not doing this thing 100%, it's going to be all bad. So do
Right.
that thing. And I told him, just know in other people's eyes, you turned your back on them.
Right.
And so they're
Right.
going to
Right.
be looking to see if you get a bag of wine or you get anything, anything. And
Yes.
if you do, believe they're going to run to me or one of the other guys that has a position of authority, and they're going to want your head. But we
Right.
never like a homie that would turn righteously Christian. You can see it. You know,
Right.
I told the story of a homie. He was from Sanger, and this dude was a big old dude. He was a monster. He was a killer. And I saw him, I want to say 12 years later, man. And I looked at him and his eyes,
Yes.
when I saw his eyes, two things. And I told the story before. I don't know if you saw the story. When I saw his eyes, I said to myself, either he went crazy or he went Christian.
Right.
And I walked up to him. I was like, "Hey, what's up, Holmes? How you doing?" And he was like, "Hey, brother, how you doing?" So I knew immediately.
Right.
And I go, "You're Christian now?" He goes, "I am." And I told him I could tell, you know, and it's true, And so that was a good story that you told right there, because a lot of people think, oh, if you turn Christian, the bottles are gonna turn on you and whack you. No, they're not. They have to fall in line with
Yeah.
everything else, and not everyone is so damn miserable that wants to keep somebody in the misery. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, Holmes, let that dude do his thing. Holmes. It's not
Right.
bothering you.
And like you
So
said,
we're already
as long as you're real about it, you know what I
mhm,
mean, and not half stepping and not playing
never
and
gonna have a
doing
problem.
things. Yeah. Yeah. That's how it goes.
Now, I don't want to keep this too long. We're already 33 minutes in, but I do have a question. So uh, nowadays, so I'm sure you've seen these other content creators that are making fun of Prisneyland. You heard of
Right.
Prisneyland?
Yes. 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 Yes.
What do you feel? What is your 2 cents on the fact that California actually has Prisneyland in place?
So it's a trip you bring this up because one of the people that work where I work,
Hmm.
he's an ex-lifer as well. He was actually a life without,
Hmm.
and he got commuted, went to the board, and came home.
Hmm.
He was part of the team that went to Norway to research their prison model there, the Norway model, of how they do their prisons. That in turn is what the California model was based on.
Hold on,
On
real quick. Is it Howard? His first name?
No, 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 no.
Okay.
His
Okay.
his name is Ken. His first name is Ken.
Okay. All right. My bad. Go ahead.
He was in Lancaster. He was doing his life
Okay.
without in Lancaster. But he was part of the team that went to Norway and saw how they run their prisons and what they're doing that's helping people to do good while they're in prison and when they come home, and brought it back here and helped institute the California model.
Hmm.
So you asked what I think about it.
Hmm.
I'm all for people having more rehabilitation opportunities. I'm all for
Hmm.
people being prepared for the streets.
Hmm.
One thing that to me is, I guess the best word to use is weird, is the friendliness between staff and prisoners, right?
Hmm.
And this is why I say that. Because in any friendship, whether it be a work friendship or friendship out here in the streets, whatever, at some point expectation develops.
Mm-hmm.
Expectations of favors, expectations of leniency, expectations of, and I don't want no staff. I wouldn't want staff having any expectations of me,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to be having any expectations of you. You
We
know,
don't
and
want
that's
we
that
don't
that's
we
my thing.
no one wants, especially incarcerated, you don't want the lines getting blurred, basically.
I don't
You
want the
know.
lines getting blurred. I function
Yeah.
better when there's clarity of what the boundaries are. I don't want to one day because me, let's just say, I'm gonna just use this guy's name because I like his channel and he helps me out with stuff too. And I've seen you do stuff with him, Hector
Mm-hmm.
Bravo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna be sitting there playing chess with Hector Bravo one day on the yard, and then tomorrow he's in a bad mood and doesn't want to be friendly with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I come up and hit him up for a game of chess, and he cusses me out or something. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's just too much room for things to go bad, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like I said, I'm all for the rehabilitative aspect of it. They want to have horse grooming so people can learn how to groom horses and the dog program and all that. That's cool. I wish I could have been part of the
Mm-hmm.
dog program or something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I just, for me personally, I would not have been cool with not having the clear boundaries. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want the CEOs playing me funny, asking, expecting things from me, and I don't want to be expecting things from you.
Well, the reason why I asked is because I'm for it, right?
Right,
I'm for it, and I think that everyone who has had a life sentence and trying to better themselves is going to push and advocate for that. And
right,
I think it's strange that everyone that's made content making fun of that, not one of them had a life sentence.
right. Exactly. They've never
And
been through
so
it.
yeah, and so these are the guys that they still have that I'm a tough guy mentality because they never sat there knowing I'm gonna die in one of these cells or on one of these
Right,
yards. You
right,
know, they
right,
always had in March 19th of 20 whatever, I get to go home where we didn't have
right.
that, right?
Exactly.
And that's not to downgrade them, but it's to point out that they have no clue whatsoever what we felt and why we say, you know what, I'm for these guys. Look at if they can get some programming and they can get some trades and they can get some kind of rehabilitation so they re-enter society like a step ahead of these tough guys. Hey, I'm all
Right.
for that, man. You know,
Absolutely.
because we are representatives of those that we left behind.
Right.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
that's a reason why I wanted to do this video too, you know, because um we need more people to, because you know, I still get it. I don't know if you get it, but I get it where people will make a comment, look at you, you're so arrogant, you killed somebody, you should still be in prison. And I
Right.
tell them, hey, you know, just be careful the way you're judging me. You know, keep that same energy if your son makes a mistake
Yes,
or your nephew makes a mistake. Just
that's
please
literally
keep
my
the same energy.
that's literally my response on Facebook and Instagram when someone
Mhm.
comes at me like that. I literally tell them keep that same energy when it's one of your family that it happens to.
Exactly.
You know what I
Hey,
mean?
that's fine. I'm not here to change your mind. I'm here to just remind you to stay the same when it's your family because
Right.
everyone has someone in the family where something goes wrong, and you need to treat that guy like crap the way you want to treat me like crap. You know,
Right. Right.
but
Right. And but no, they don't. When it's different. When it's theirs, then
yeah,
there's excuses
then it's
and
hypocritical.
justification and
Yeah,
all that. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
It's crazy that you mentioned about the tough guys and people wanting to keep that um California prison image as if it's, you know, constantly violence, and you know in some places it is, but
yeah,
I have a partner of mine that actually from the level two, that he was also a lifer, black dude out of the IE. He was the one that really started lacing me first about preparing for board. What he used to tell a lot of young cats, and what I see him on his social media telling a lot of these young cats that are wannabe tough guys, how are you gonna be a wannabe tough guy and out here downing people for trying to get their life straight? Yet
yeah,
when you do time and the police say get on your bunk, you hurry up and get on your bunk. When they
yeah.
say take it in your cell, you hurry up and take it in your cell. But yet you're some kind of tough guy and putting other people down.
And not only that, it's these dudes that have never been to a real joint
Right,
that talk about that stuff, not realizing the dudes on those yards are in a hurry to catch a sticking to get out of that place. They would
Yes.
rather go sit in the shoe than deal with
Right.
that stuff on the yard. And
Right.
they can't wrap their heads around that because they never lived like that.
Right.
But anyways, yeah. Hey, Jim, thank you very much. This is going to be 40 minutes already. I've never done a 40-minute video other than a live. And you know, the people can leave comments. Again, his channel is a Change Man for Life, right? Or is it Change
Yeah.
Man for Life?
Changed man for life.
There you go. Change Man for Life. Give him a sub, send a like. And also, if you guys want to see a part 2, let us know. And also, those of you that want to see a part 2, let us know what you want to hear us talk about, man. 2 former lifers. Both of us did 24 years. We both went through the trenches, and we're both out here trying to save your families, your kids, your
Yes.
nieces, your nephews, man, and remind everybody, give everybody a glimpse at how miserable that life is, man, and remind you, the people in there, no matter how tough they are, they wish they were in your shoes, man. So you got
Absolutely.
anything to say before we go?
Yeah, I wanted to do something before we close it out. I just want to give you props, bro. I appreciate the fact that you've supported me in
Mhm.
helping to build my channel. You know, you've always shouted me out. You've helped me
Mhm.
get some subs. I appreciate the fact that you donated when I was doing my church fundraiser. I just
No
want the people
problem.
to know, because I know sometimes people think that when you have a big channel and when you've blown up the way you have, people start
Mhm.
thinking that you think you're all that. I
Mhm.
just want to let everybody out there know Dubs is an awesome dude,
Thank you.
very humble man, does
Appreciate
charitable
that.
things with people, helps people out. You know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
just wanted to give you those props, bro, because you got that coming.
Thank you, homie. I really appreciate that. All
Of
right.
course, of course, of course.
All right, you guys. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, man. We're out of here.